ironic. God, who has made everything right in its time, has also put a sense of timelessness in the human heart. End quote. I don't think that's a very good understanding. We go on to say, however, the only way this could be ironic is if God made human understanding timeless. That is, without a sense of time. And that doesn't really make good sense. I also think there's a bit of a problem in bringing eternity in along the lines of what Steve just mentioned, which is there's almost our modern notion of eternity, of timelessness, really stands outside of the use of the term olam. Olam, at its most basic sense, means in perpetuity, backwards or forwards. And so we've seen it in Job in reference to long time ago, and it can also be a long time to come. Another view, and just I'm going to run the ones down. I'm checking off the ones I disagree with. Crenshaw represents a second view in which he conflates two different roots: the nifal of Elam, which is listed as one root, and the hifil of Elam as another root. The nifal meaning to be darkened, to be hidden. The hifil meaning to be darkened. So that there's a sense of, he's basically put ignorance in the minds of humans. God has made humans ignorant of all of this. I'm not sure that that's that helpful. I'm also not convinced that you can just conflate those two separate roots like that and assume that it's referencing both of them. Another interesting one is that Fox actually argues that we ought to read this not as ayin lamed mem, but ayin mem lamed. He has put toil in the minds of humans. And his argument comes from this, so it's worthwhile doing these in parallel here. Verse 8:17, let me put the computer up on the screen here. If we look at these two together, he argues that the biggest argument for this is to see it in parallel with 8:17. Everything God has made yafeh, suitable, proper, fitting, v'ito, and also, he would argue, amal he has placed in their minds. Verse 17 of chapter 8, he says, look at everything which God has done, that humans are unable to discover all his work which he has done under the heavens. So, no matter how much, and Bashel here is a little bit of a problem, either a late Hebrew or an Aramaic sort of expression. This is not something we have in Hebrew. It's beit plus sheen, relative plus lamed. Something like so that no matter how much they struggle to find out, they will not discover. And here you've got your word, amal. Regardless of all of their toils to figure things out, there's no way they're going to be able to figure things out. And so there's a sense, according to Fox, that there's this endeavor to grasp, this drive to do in human minds. Now, having said all that, those are the three views that I really don't agree with. What I really do think is probably closest to home is the view that you all came up with anyway, and have already mentioned, and is in Murphy's commentary, Word Biblical Commentary, where he basically argues that it's olam in the sense of duration of time, which fits quite well with in perpetuity. In other words, a sense of past and future. Now, tie this together with, I don't, and I already hinted at this, so you know I was out to refute this anyway. I'm not sure the Catalog of Times is so interested in the cycle of time. It's interested in the fact that there are appropriate times for everything. Going back to this Yafeh, God makes everything suitable in its time. In other words, for God, there is a perfect time for everything. Everything that occurs under heaven only ever occurs when God wants it to occur. And, of course, we could govern our lives quite well if, darn it all, he would only let us know when those times are. But we don't know. We know there are times. We know there is past. We know there is future. We know there are appropriate times. But how do we tell what those appropriate times are? In fact, dare I say, the birds got it right. When they get to the end, a time for peace, I swear it's not too late. Their understanding is there is a time for peace, but we've got to get it when we can. I mean, granted, it's part of a whole war protest, but still, nevertheless, they get it right, that there are appropriate times for things, and we need to avail ourselves of those appropriate times. But the biggest problem here is simply that God hasn't told us what those appropriate times are. And so the frustration that comes through here, I think, comes across in this idea of God has made everything for its proper time, is the way I would want to translate this, yafeh v'ito. And also he has put a sense of time in the minds, in their minds, mibali, without knowing, without being able to discover his works, which God has done from the beginning to the end. In other words, the frustration is, humanity knows this is the world, goes round and round, things happen, that God himself has everything happen precisely when God himself wants it to happen.